Manyavar presents CNBC TV 18's Indian Business Icons, Leaders, Trailblazers, Radicals.
Hello and welcome to the India Business Icons, a show that documents the stories of business leaders who've defied all the odds and built profitable, sustainable businesses by anticipating changes in the marketplace, creating strong brands and new categories. On the show today, we bring you the stories of two professionals who've led their respective organizations to become India's marquee companies through their entrepreneurial zeal. The stories of ITC's Vaisi Deveshwar and Chanda Kochhar of ICICI Bank. I've been tracking the $48 billion conglomerate ITC and its nerve center Vaisi Deveshwar for over a decade now, and I can say that his journey at the company from a shop floor engineer to the chairman is not only intriguing but also inspiring. He rescued a drifting company and worked to reduce BAT's influence over ITC. He revived the ailing hotels and paper businesses and successfully diversified into agri, fashion, FMCG and personal care. He's given ITC an Indian identity and transformed a cigarettes company into an FMCG giant with the aspiration of being number one. Here's the story of one of corporate India's longest-serving professional CEOs.
I was the fifth of six siblings. Immediately after I was born, we shifted from Lahore to Ambala, and that's where I began my first school. And I remember that at that very tender age, I didn't want anyone to accompany me to school. I wanted to walk it alone, and I used to look back over my shoulder whether somebody was following me. I shifted many schools because my father was in a transferable job. I generally was an all-rounder in school. I played all sport. To keep up that reputation, I used to cover at night with a quilt and have a table lamp inside and read, so as to keep up the reputation that despite playing the whole day, I was still coming out with flying colors in school. My father was very keen that I did BA, MA and appeared for the IAS. But I had two cousins in IIT Kharagpur who I hero worshipped. Ultimately, my father wasn't very happy. He did not know what an IIT was. So I appeared and I passed and joined IIT Delhi. It was only after I qualified as mechanical engineer that the real challenge began. The first interview that I got was from a sugar mill in Jagadhri. And within a short period of the interview having begun, we entered into an argument, because they asked me to draw an iron carbon diagram, and they asked me various eutectic points and composition of iron and carbon, and I told them, look, I don't need to remember it because it's always available in the book. So I failed that interview, and I was very disappointed that even if a sugar mill would not qualify me, then where would I go? During my final year, I had written an application for Imperial Tobacco because it was on the notice board that you could apply for jobs. And after I left college, one day a friend of mine who had got left behind because he could not qualify the same time as I did, he found a letter in my name in the pigeonhole and he brought it home. So I went there and I found my scooter broke down on the way. So when I got there, we had a placement officer called Commodore R.H.D. Singh. He told me that the interview was over and I started arguing with him. I told him, look, please, give me a chance because my scooter broke down. He did not relent, but Keki Randeria, who was the personnel manager from ITC, Imperial Tobacco those days, he heard my, imploring him in this manner. He said, no, I will interview this young man. So he took me in. The first question he asked me is, why are these windows shaking? And I was so keyed up. I thought he was asking me a question of theory of vibrations. So I took a sheet of paper and I started explaining to him how vibrations are caused. And he looked at me a little bit surprised and said, no, I don't understand what you're saying, but I want to know why is it shaking. So then I told him that there is a compressor in the basement and that is not completely balanced, and that is what is causing it. I think he took a liking to me, and I found that I was the only one that was picked up for the next interview. And that was the first time I traveled by air, went to Chennai, in a place called Tirupattur, for my next interview. And after the interview was over, I left, and it so happened that these people went to the branch manager and said that we found this guy, found him okay. So he said, he rang up the deputy chairman in headquarters in Kolkata and said, we found our man, and he told him, put him on the next flight. So the 4 heads of department were sent, one to the airport, one to the railway station, and one to a place in a colony where I told them during the interview that I was staying. And the other gentleman was, I think, sent somewhere else. And ultimately they had to ring up my father, and they found out, got me. Next morning they put me on the flight to Kolkata.
And at the age of 28, he was the factory head, at 31 the division head, and at 37 Deveshwar was on the board of ITC after turning around the paper and hotels businesses. When he was 44, late Madhav Rao Scindia approached him to spearhead Air India. Deveshwar took up this challenge even though the salary was a mere 9,500 rupees and the family had to fall back on his wife's earnings for those years. In 4 short years, Deveshwar helped Air India take off.
That really excited me, because there is in every bone of mine patriotic fervor, and I was quite happy to. But I told him that I'm wedded to this company, and I'll have to check with our chairman whether I can be released. So ultimately they had a meeting, and it was decided that I will go on a lien to Air India. It was a very big challenge. We produced a crore a day profit, and then came a call from ITC that if you don't come back, then succession will be decided. By the time I became chairman, we had a number of challenges. Our paper business was on the brink of defaulting to the financial institutions. We had a retrospective excise duty demand on us of 803 crores. We had our hotels business that was, had no resources. There was a crisis all around. Our overseas shareholder had, with the help of a local consultant, launched a public smear campaign. They wanted, obviously, in a liberalized economy, they wanted to get into the driver's seat. One day I went to the enforcement director to explain to him that this was a takeover battle, and all this, this FERA violations that people are talking about and this smear campaign is only a strategy to discredit us. So he told me, no, but Mr. Deveshwar, I am told that you have millions of dollars stashed away. I came out, and there is a journalist friend of mine, Mr. Nainan. I told him that this is what he is saying. His first question to me was, Yogi, do you have such hoards of money? I said, no. He said, no, not millions, lakhs or thousands. I said, no. He says, then what you do is you write a letter to the enforcement director authorizing him, what he humorously called letter yogatory, and so you give it to him and say, this authorizes you to look at any accounts anywhere in the world. And I said, I also want permission from you. Could I have it published in a paper so that if anybody else knows who can help you to find these, they would help you. He told me later on, that day it changed his mind. It became crystal clear to him that what the conspiracy was. They told me that the people who are working from BAT, you name a country, we will give you international experience. So I told them, look, I've just run Air India. It operates out of 65 countries. That is much more than you have done yourself. So don't tell me about international experience. So I want to run this company, and you already voted against me, so don't worry. So this carried on for a while, and I must say that I'm very happy that despite even the media being against and the dirty tricks department being against, the institutions stood by me, largely because of my track record in Air India, and that nobody could produce any evidence against me, and that the rest is history.
And the bet that financial institutions placed on Deveshwar paid off as the efforts to diversify began to add value. Today, the non-cigarette revenue of ITC is currently between 55 to 60%, and under his captainship, the company has strengthened its hotel business too, with new concept properties like the Grand Bharat in Manesar.
See, the valuation of ITC, if it was to go by only a tobacco valuation, if you see the tobacco companies' valuation around the world is much lower. What people are valuing really is the future. The brands that we build in India are going to create, capture and retain value in India. And this is we have just begun our work. A journey of 1,000 miles has just begun, because our vision is to create a national champion with brands that people will be proud of, with intellectual property. My wife says that I'm sorry you worked so hard and we've enjoyed life. But I let her say that, but only when if she hears this interview, that I really enjoy my work. So I let her feel bad that I work hard. But actually I enjoy my work, I enjoy the creation, I enjoy the opportunity. But in ITC, professional managers have created new businesses from scratch, from the first brick.
Perhaps in a few years, when Vasi Deveshwar calls it a day at ITC, it won't be an exaggeration to say that you can take Deveshwar out of ITC, but you can't take ITC from Deveshwar. On that note, we'll take a break, but when we return, Chanda Kocher's story on the India Business Icon.
Manyavar presents CNBC TV 18's Indian Business Icons, Leaders, Trailblazers, Radicals.